What's up, everybody? Spare with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on space engineers working on the space station project. We're still on the observation deck. Now, I do have to get something out of the way. First of all, this is post-audio, post-recording audio. Somehow, when I was recording the Code 3 episode for this week, or for today, it should be going up the same day, I bumped the mic button and muted the microphone. If you've watched the Code 3, you'll know that, because I said it like almost at the end of the episode where my mic cut out. So all of this is like post-recording. So jumping into it, one of the things I went over was that there was an update. The game had updated since the last episode, but there wasn't really a whole lot to do for the update, so I didn't really make a whole update episode. One of the things I'm showing you right now is the heavy armor block. I think they redid the texture for it to where it's more high-res and more brushed looking, I guess is the proper word. I don't know. But I don't know. That might have just been something I just now noticed, so when I was recording this. But they did upgrade the heavy armor durability so it can take a lot more punishment than the regular light armor blocks. Let's see, what else? Oh, that was the multiplayer chat that is new in this as well. So they've added that it allows you to basically chat to people. It doesn't work in single player, obviously, because, well, it's single player and it's designed for multiplayer, so, but that was a quick little example. They've changed the ladder blocks, and I'm about to showcase this, I believe, in a second, but you'll notice there's no more ladder to them, and I really don't like this, to be honest. Most of the things I'm okay with them doing. This one, not so much. So what they did was they made them pathway blocks. They're still called ladders in the user interface, but they're designed to where you can do this. You can put them horizontally and use them as a walkway, which I like, but they removed the actual climbing mechanic. So in the vertical, there's no ladders, so you can't climb. You're supposed to turn your jetpack on, as I'm going to do here, and fly up and down them. And I really don't like that, to be honest. Like, I liked climbing the ladders. It reminded me of, like in Star Wars, where they're climbing up the Millennium Falcon's tubes to get to the different turrets and stuff like that. I like that. So I'm pretty sad, actually, that that's gone. I really don't like that. According to the changelog, it had something to do with they had issues with the climbing mechanics in various different gravity situations. So I think it was like if you're climbing up but the gravity is sideways, or you're climbing sideways and the gravity is down, whatever, it worked while you were climbing, but then when you let go it threw you somewhere or something, and they didn't know how to fix it, so they took it out. But I'm hoping, I really would have liked it if they did tunnel blocks through, but then did ladders also. Like, I don't like that they took it out completely. But anyways, that's just me. So now we're working on trying to fix this door, which ultimately ends up I can't use it in this particular design. Eventually I'll come to that conclusion. So I've been told through the comments to lower the torque a little bit, add braking. The lower limit should be 0 and the upper limit should be 90 for what I want to do, and then a velocity of positive will get it to turn. Now, the problem here is I didn't notice the current angle is 229. So when I come back in here, because it didn't move, it says it's out of the limits of the rotation, so it can't do anything right now. So I raised the upper limit to unlimited and then did a velocity of negative to bring it back into play the way it was supposed to. I cranked the braking up so it would stop instantly, and ultimately I realized that velocity works, but the torque is what makes it go faster, or at least that's how I saw it. And I was kind of panicking here, thinking, oh, I can't get it to turn, but I realized that it's out of place, so all I needed to do is break this first block, that's stuck and allow it to swing back into its proper rotation, and then it will work. Now I did notice this. I think this was a light block, a light armor, so I replaced that. I was checking to make sure I didn't break a light or anything, or why that was there and why it didn't look right, but so it ended up being fine. It was just apparently a light block that I missed or something. So I broke this for a second, or no, I took that end block out and then turned the rotor back on so it would rotate it back into its proper alignment. And I also noticed that I have the velocity up to like 13, negative wise anyway, but it didn't seem to be going that fast, and then when I turned up the torque, then it got a lot quicker. So again, I'm not the greatest physics expert in the world, so I don't really know why velocity doesn't affect it as much as torque does, but as you can see there, I raised the torque significantly. Alright, what am I doing? I don't know. I'm just playing around with stuff. So I set this back to 90, and then I cranked the torque up higher. I didn't put any velocity on it. Okay, so I replaced that. I'm trying to just kind of explain and go over what I was doing. Some of this looks a little bit more haphazard because I was in the process of doing it, and now I've already done it, so I know what happens. Now, it's important to note, this isn't actually stopping at 90 degrees, it's stopping because of that block. And this was me testing the torque velocity theory, and it's confirmed there that you can have a high velocity, but if you have low torque, it doesn't go very fast. So I put it up to like 60 or so eventually and leave it there. There was my confirmation that that worked. But yeah, that block is actually in the way right there. Even though there's no sparks or anything, it's actually stopping it. That plays into why I ultimately couldn't end up using that that door, if you will, for lack of a better term. Because when that block is pushing it to where it's stopping it, it's also not properly aligned at a perfect 90 degrees, which essentially ends up screwing it up when I try and dock. When I try and dock with something, the ladder, or path-through, or whatever they're calling that block now. I think technically it's still being referred to as a ladder, there's just no climbing. But the ladder blocks for... Oh, I left this partially rotated so that I could see what blocks I could and couldn't place without hitting it, without getting in the way, basically. So that I could figure out how much of the bottom here I could fill in before it would get in the way of the door, which ultimately ends up not really being an issue because I couldn't use the door anyway. So, what else? I didn't mention it before. This is just me filling this in. I didn't mention it before the first time I recorded this with my mic off. I'm still frustrated with that, but they also added a few things that I didn't bring up in this, and that is there is now like an ammo block, like missiles and bullets and things like that. I'm assuming that will be used later for crafting, like you can craft ammo and then put it in your inventory kind of thing, but if you drop it, it'll show like a missile or something. So there's a new craftable thing like that. Now this was my test docking station, essentially. This was my way of testing to see if this would work with the door and the new locking clamp idea and all that kind of stuff. I did 3 wide, or 3 deep, depending on how you're measuring, because the landing gears are 3 long, and I wanted them to fully lock in on all sides so that it would line up the... Basically, I wanted to line up the station with the back there, if you can see that last block where the landing gear stops, so that basically I could get the station part up in between the landing gears and then just pull forward until the back of the ship hits, or touches at least, the back, so that I know it's properly aligned the ladders, essentially. I don't know what I was doing here. I'm not sure what I was attempting to do, to be honest. I think I was explaining something that is probably a moot point now. So this was going to be a simple type thing for trying to do a docking situation. Again, this kind of lets me play with experimenting to see how I would have to build the lock, or the part of the space station that this would ultimately connect to. And I realized very quickly I was very out of alignment. Oh, I did pause it there so that I could save it and get properly, or closer aligned, I should say. Open the door, which is cool. It looks really cool. It works really well. It's just that with a 1x1 entryway, and this is where I started to get concerned looking at it from an angle like this about the door basically getting in the way of docking. Oh, and the camera did this really weird thing where when I was in third person, and when I scrolled, it would do that. It would like leap forward and zoom in really, really far, even though I was really far zoomed out. It's really annoying, and I don't know what it was doing that was causing that, but it made it very, very difficult to dock the ship. Because you can see I'm like trying to get closer and get a better look, and it just keeps jumping into the hull of the ship, and it makes it very hard to see. So this was a very tedious process, to be honest. I made a comment or two here and there the first time recording this about this is something you would not want to do all the time. Like, this is definitely an escape pod type ship where only in emergencies do you want this to detach, because getting it to reattach is a pain in the butt. But at the same time, it is kind of one of those that by making it difficult to reattach, it also makes it to where once it's attached, it looks like it belongs there. You wouldn't actually expect it to be a detachable part of the ship. So I like that idea. And I think it was somewhere around here that I started having problems with the door hitting the ladders. Yeah, right about there. Where that thud kind of thing happened. And then I looked at it from that angle, and it was like, yeah, this is not gonna work. So that was kind of a bummer. I really wanted that to work, because I don't like the idea of having an open ladder in the ship. It really kind of irks me, because if you in real, I mean, I've never been to space, obviously, but from what I've learned about space, if I did that right there and opened the door without a secondary airlock to pressurize it, you'd just get sucked out into the vacuum of space. Everything in the ship would get sucked out. So I don't like having it just exposed. But as small as this ship kind of has turned into with all the crampedness, I haven't really been able to come up with a way to make a proper airlock, I guess, to where it's sealed and there's like a door, you know, that connects everything. Although, I just actually thought of one that I could use. I think I was explaining that very thing about the airlock right there. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think that would work. I thought of an idea in my head just now, but I don't think that would actually work. I'll have to play around with it next episode, since obviously this one's completo. But so yeah, I'm starting to come to the realization that this is not going to work. Like, this particular design, this build of this door. The rotation idea worked right, and it was a good idea. It would have worked had it been a little bit bigger. I mean, overall, had the ship been like one bigger on all sides, it could work. Honestly, I was like, we'll use this kind of idea later. And this part, I was speculating. I was like, if I moved the rotor somewhere else, would it still be in the way? And I thought about putting it there until fairly quickly here. Oh, yeah, I made a comment about diagonally it would still probably hit something and be in the way. And then I was like, well, I could do that, and then it should be fine. And then I realized that's the block where the door is. And they don't take up a full block, so neither does a rotor. So I'm trying here. I'm trying to make this work, and I put one there. But then I almost instantly, like, almost as soon as I did that, oh yeah, and I got distracted because I thought it was magnetizing to me, and it was because I had a block equipped, so. But as soon as I did that, I had a feeling this was not going to look right or work at all, and it doesn't. It's just, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work. So, we removed that. And at this point, I think I've pretty much given up on the door. It was like, no, this just isn't going to work on this build of ship. Now, don't get me wrong, it can work. I did it. I mean, you can get it. You can set it to 90 degrees. You can rotate the door when you want through a cockpit. It can work. Just this ship kind of is. I know it's actually kind of big, but it's also compact for what I'm trying to do. Oh, this was another idea I had. Was if I used one landing gear, could I move the rotor somewhere else? And yeah, this is kind of the clinging at straws, because I realize the problem is with the rotor right next to the ladder. It's that block that's getting in the way when it can't extend or lock all the way in the proper direction. It causes the main block where the rotor is connected to be at an off angle, and that is what ends up getting hit by the ladder. Or at least that was my assumption of the situation. So it was when I started figuring that out that I'm like, I don't think with this amount of space and what I'm trying to do, I don't think it'll work. Basically, it was like I'm running through all the options in my head, going, no, can't put it there. It almost reminds me of when you're playing chess and you're in check. And you're trying to figure out if you're in checkmate, you know, and you're like moving around like, no, can't move there, can't move that there, can't move that there. If I do this, can't put that there. And finally you're like, nope, that's checkmate, we're filling it in. So, and then I decided I liked the sideways landing gears better. I felt it made it feel more secure, that you've got it clamped from both sides kind of thing. Ultimately, it makes it a very difficult docking maneuver, but it, you know, if they end up adding magnetic forces and things like that later, I think that 2 will make it a lot more secure, and it just seems like a better idea. So we got rid of the door, or we got rid of the hatch thing. Now, there was a problem here. For whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure why, I could not fit the ladders and all those blocks in that one width area for some reason. Like, you would think 4 blocks long and 4 blocks long would line up, but it won't. I kept damaging stuff trying to get it to fit, so I ended up having to expand. We'll probably do that here in a minute, because this is the docking process where I started figuring out that I didn't give myself enough space to actually slip the station section in between the ship and lock it. It kept colliding on one end or the other. It was either the back or the front, but one end was always hitting. Which obviously causes problems when you're trying to dock a station. It doesn't work well. Alright, there. That's when I realized something was wrong. So, as you can see, if you look really close, the back part of the station is all the way at the edge. Like, I cannot go any further forward without the back not slipping into the section, into the slot. So, the ladder also looks like it's off. So I'm like, well, that sucks. Like, it's not gonna line up ever, basically, because it's hitting stuff. So I come out, and I basically decide, well, then I've got to... Yeah, the camera made me nauseous there. I basically just got to remove sections so that it has enough room to fit, basically. That one I didn't need to remove. I think I replaced... Yeah, there we go. So, I didn't really like that I had to leave that much open, but, you know... And I was trying to repair these, but because of where the landing gears were, it wasn't letting me place any new ones. I tried to do the control idea, but that didn't work. Oh, speaking of control, while I'm just trying to fix and repair stuff, the other thing that they updated that I forgot to mention was now when you copy and paste, like if I were to copy and paste this design, when you do that, when you're in the placement mode, if you hold control and use your scroll wheel, now you can actually extend or retract the thing you're trying to place, like move it further away from you or pull it back to you kind of thing. There's no more like, I'm in the way, I can't get that. Like, you can actually just zoom it out and then it'll be further away from you when you place it. So I basically just moved the ship a little bit far enough that I could replace the broken parts. And I'm trying to figure out where I am. Sometimes again, this game is still in an alpha, so I can't fault the devs too much. They've done an amazing job. But sometimes I still want them to fix the camera. Like, there's just some weird, like this whole, if I turn it at the right angle, it just flies into the hull of the ship type of thing. It's so weird and frustrating at times. So I got a few sparks there. So I moved it around a little bit, and here was the money shot. Like, I finally got the lights to come on, and I'm like, yes! It can be done. This thing can be parked. Now, the first time I did this, I went a little too far and damaged the tops of almost all of the things because I was trying to get it, like, perfectly snug type of thing, to where you would never notice that it's two sections kind of thing, or two different pieces. And that wasn't really a great idea. Like, it is a good idea, but it's not. Because no matter how slow I was moving, I still ended up damaging the top of the space station, and I'm like, you know, you don't really want to damage something every time you land. That wouldn't really work that well. So I came down here. The seam is almost barely visible, so I mean, it worked perfectly. So I was happy with this, but at the same time I was like, I need to do something different because I don't want to damage. I was trying to see what I did that hurt it. And to be honest, I'm not really sure because the ladder seemed to be fine, and it seems taller than the blocks, so I don't know how I hurt the blocks without hurting the ladder, unless the ladders don't have damage. I don't know. So, I was almost done. I was almost going to just stop there and be like, okay, we docked, we did it, yay, let's go. And I think it was... Oh, I think I said there that we're probably going to use this design even though it doesn't have the hatch instead of the one that's currently over there. And then I realized I couldn't place any blocks while the landing gears were there. So I've always wanted it to look like it was all one piece, right? Like, you know, like, it looks like a tower with the top, like something you'd see at like an airport, like an air traffic control kind of tower. And then just in an emergency event, it could lift off and, you know, fly away if it needed to, kind of thing. I always thought that would be a cool idea. So my thought process here was, well, I can't build it while the ship is there. So I got the idea then that we needed to move the ship so that I could build basically the tower, because at this point I'm done with the observation deck, right? Like, at this point I'm happy with it. It's probably going to stay the way that it is. So now I'm working on experimenting with what to do for the station, like the docking part of the space station. And I can't experiment on it if I can't build with the ship there. So I undock it, I raise it up slightly. I think I raised it up enough. I don't remember if I repaired it or not. No, I don't think I did. I think I just brought it up enough that I could build this time. I do assess the damage here, I think. I looked through the crack. As we're... Yeah, that's when I was like, oh, I can see it from there. Let me check out what I did. So that was the little bit of damage that was done from docking, for whatever reason. I didn't think I was going that fast or anything like that. I started to get confused because of the camera. And then I got stuck because of the collision detection thing. Those are the two things I would really love to see them fix soon. Is the weird camera thing where it zooms in all of a sudden because it gets stuck in a wall, and proper collision detection for the characters so that they bend or move but don't just get stuck when they hit something. That's gotten really irritating for me. So this was me building the kind of pseudo test structure, if you will. So you could like enter here and then go up, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it would just look like it's all part of the ship. Or asteroid, space station, I should say. Then I did... I don't remember where I noticed it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dock it here, I guess. I did the exterior outer line. Now, one of the things that I decided to do was dock it to where it looked like it was attached, but give it just enough room that it wasn't metal on metal, so that I wasn't doing any damage when I docked. That was the big thing. So then I looked at it like that, and I realized that there was, from the landing gears, there was sections that were still exposed, and I didn't like that. So I think that's the part I worked on here, was filling in those sections. Yeah, right about here. So then I extend the walls so that it's sealed type thing and it looks all like one. Now I will have to play with, it'll probably be in the next episode, unless there's a full update that I make a full update video or something. But I'll probably have to play with the design of this. This is giving me the dimensions so that I know how big to make it, but I don't like that it's off by one side. Like the back is shorter, so I think it's like 6 total, and the middle is like 5. Or not, that didn't make any sense. There, you go like 2, then the third one is the center point, but then it goes 3 out the front, so it's longer in the front, and I didn't like that. So I mentioned here I might angle it to where it's less visible, and I couldn't get it to rotate. As usual, I can never get those things to rotate right. So I mentioned that I could do something like that, but it kind of looks how I wanted it. Like it kind of looks like an observation deck kind of thing. So the next part we'll be working on the actual docking station, and then I noticed up here that I hadn't placed a beacon. Which, if it's going to be a distress ship, I mean, it's gotta have a beacon, right? So we put a beacon there, and then I decided, well, those antennas don't really need to be sunk in, so let's put them on top. And since I was already here, I thought, let's play around and see if we can get more antennas, if it would look good, if it wouldn't, you know, etc., stuff like that. So we just fill all this in really quick. I like the beacon kind of sunk in. It doesn't stick out like, oh, there's a beacon up there, but then in times of, if it actually is used as an escape pod, you could, you know, actually have a distress beacon kind of thing. I think the other cool thing is they did it right. If you turn the beacon off, there's no icon distance meter or anything like that. And if you turn it on, then it does. So, like, it could be an inactive beacon kind of thing. But so that's pretty much all we have for this episode. I'm calling it done on the deck part. Now it'll just be building the station. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.